It's me again. It's a whole new day, but I'm wearing the same outfit that I keep wearing in half of these videos, and that's because I like it. So we're just gonna have to deal with it. Just something easy to wear, so. Not that this is a... Maybe one day I'll get like a phone stand so that I can actually get some flattering videos. This is never a flattering angle, but we deal. Okay. My guides, my ancestors, specifically my ancestors, my guides, my angels, any of those in the other realms working for my greatest good, for my highest power, the benefit of the whole collective. Please bless this space. Please bless the energy in this space. Please bless me during this reading. I don't always do this, but it felt necessary right now. Please bless me, bless these cards, bless this reading, bless this space. Give me wisdom, grace, and the right words. Give me the right messages, and remove my ego from all of this. I just tried to start this out talking about myself and how I look, and that's never the energy I'm trying to be in. Please cleanse this space, the energy in this space. Please cleanse me. Cleanse me of that ego. Give me wisdom. Give me grace. Give me discernment, strong intuition, and a positive perspective to be able to give these messages and give me the right messages to give and the right words to give them. Thank you. Thank you for always being there and blessing my space and blessing me in my space. I love that smell so much. Today this message said, your inner self is your inner guide. And it resonated with me. Oh, there's our lizard. There he is. It resonated with me as my inner voice is my inner guide. And I suppose that's why like my Christian mother was always very apt to disagree with God being myself, like a person being God themselves, or like the Bible, or like, well, not the Bible, but Christian churches tend to try to drive people away from this sense of seeking inner knowledge, because your heart is desperately wicked and the inside of you is misleading. I don't think that's true at all. I think that knowing yourself is the highest calling, but I think that balancing that is what's important, and that recognizing that your inner voice is your inner voice. Like it said, like your inner voice is your inner guide, but it's your inner guide, right? There's also an external reality, and we also need external guides. And you know, these cards serve as a tool and can offer guidance in that way, but still that's coming from your inner self and your capacity to be able to interpret that. You know, Christians' concept of God is generally the external guide. And I do have an external concept of God myself. It is... It is nature. It's nature. It's the universe. It's the workings of the universe. Like I was talking in my last reading about sacred geometry, and kind of just the way everything works. It's quantum mechanics, the quantum world. Like, you know, I use both my inner guide and my external guide in tandem. And that is how I reach any sort of clarity or like consistency. Any sort of like true groundedness, anything that can be considered the truth, which is usually only for a time in specific space, but that all comes from a balance between the internal and the external. Sometimes it may be more one than the other, back and forth, but they're always being used in tandem that way, right? So that was my reflection of the day. I just like this. I'm watching this lizard. He's one of them green anoles. A little anole. He's so cute. He's just like climbing around. He's supposed to be outside of the screen, but these doors in our screened-in patio, the doors are like not totally secure. I'm watching him right now. They have these little spaces, and he probably snuck through. I don't know. I'm assuming the door, because I did see a pretty large cricket come in here the other day, just right under the door. I thought he was trying to go out the door, but he's actually just climbing on it, and he's in the patio right now, which like it's so tempting for me just to want to go touch him and chase him around. Obviously, that's not going to be helpful to building, balanced relationships with the animals around here. Like, I was very apt to, we have this weird squirrel that lives here that is like black. He's black all over his body, but then he has gray legs. I have never seen a squirrel like him. He looks like he's mixed, like a mixed breed or something. He looks like he's mixed with a weasel. He acts like he's mixed with a weasel. He like slinks around. He's very, very shiny. He almost looked like a blue color, like his body all black. Almost looked blue. He's so shiny and he's so sleek. But then even his tail is very sleek. Like, it's got fuzzy on it, like a squirrel does, but it's actually still like very skinny and sleek in comparison to like most squirrels' tails are kind of bushy, especially the way that they use them. They like communicate with them a lot, and they like make them bushy, and they like use them. He doesn't use his tail like that. He keeps it down, and he like, with the way he moves, he like slinks around. He's so funny to me, and he's got quite a personality. He like was up on the patio the other day when I first met him. He came up on the patio, and he like saw me staring at him through the window, so he like came walking up towards the window and then laid down, and he was like just watching me laying on his side very casually, and it was making me laugh because I was like, first he was rolling around in the yard. That's when I noticed him. He was rolling around in the yard, and he was rolling on these bricks that are in the yard that the landlord put to try to keep him out from under the patio, and he just keeps like moving them around and then like using them as scratching posts. So he's like rolling around on these things, and I was like, what is going on? And he was like rolling around on his back and stuff. I've just never seen a squirrel acting like that. So I was watching him through the window, and then he came up to the window, like near the window, but on the patio, on the deck, like, on the deck, and sat there and was like laying and watching me for a minute, and then he like stretched himself out like a puppy. Like, he like laid with like his legs and all four of his legs like out so that his belly was flat on the deck. And it's so funny to me because I've never seen a squirrel do that. And he's a wild squirrel. Like, he's not a domesticated squirrel, right? He's just this lizard. I wish I could. I can't. I'm not able to turn my camera around, and the motion of doing it, I can't zoom in or anything. You wouldn't be able to see him. But it looks like he's like trying to jump. He keeps doing this weird thing with his tail. Maybe he's caught in that spider web. I don't know. He's cute though. He's big. He's like 7 inches long. But yeah, the squirrel was just laying there being all cute. So then the next day I looked up online what sort of foods I could give him, and just gave him stuff that I already had. I had like pecans, spinach, cucumber, sweet peppers, not spicy peppers, but like bell peppers, sweet bell peppers, cherry tomatoes, and apple, and carrots. And I like cut it all up and made like this whole little like dish for him. And I brought it out, and it's like I like put it around the yard. And I have not seen him since. I haven't seen him since I put food out for him. And it's just a reminder that like I need to quit trying to interfere. I need to cut it out. I'm like, my parents used to say that I was like Elmira from the Looney Tunes show. Because I would like obsessively like collect these animals, but then like abuse them with my love, where I'm like unaware that I'm being extremely like overbearing, and I'm just like way too involved in their lives, and I'm giving them way too much, and I'm like squeezing them to death. Essentially, I didn't do that to any animals, but that was the concept, right? That's what they would say about me. And I always had pets growing up, and I probably was that way. At the same time, like, I remember these pets, like, having a relationship with them and, like, spending nice times with them and, like, taking them outside and, like, sneaking them food that they probably shouldn't have had and, like, so just constantly, like, they were always, like, on me. You know, like my hamsters, my mouse. I had a couple lizards. I had a couple snakes. And I had my dogs. And, like, yeah, I was always treating everything like weird little kids. Like, just always have them with me. Talking with them all the time. Like, reading them books or drawing with them. Or my one dog, I used to, like, dress up like a person. And we had a picture that I had made where I, like, drew a picture that made it look like he had drawn the picture of our family. And then took a picture of him as if he was drawing it. And, like, in the picture, it's so funny, too, because it's such a funny because his face, like, you can tell that he's just, like, he was such a good dog, Ike. Yeah, but you could tell that he was, like, not enthused. He even let me do that stuff, you know? He wouldn't fight it, but, like, I'm sure it wasn't what he would have chosen to do with his day. Poor guy. What he really needed was to be out running around all the time. But yeah, I was also overbearing in all my relationships the same sort of way. I was just desperate to give my love and attention, and to receive it. Yeah, I was just extremely codependent, and that's why I don't have pets anymore. I'm not trying to have pets anymore. Both of my dogs passed away last year, and I'm that's gonna continue to hit me very hard for probably like the rest of my life. I don't even know. It's that's a very hard thing for me to process, to be honest. Yeah, I don't really have any desire to give any more pets. I just don't. But obviously I do, because then I'm watching this lizard and like I just want to touch it. I just want to touch him. I just like touching animals. I like touching them. I like the way they feel. Like a lizard, like its skin is so like, it's like rough and bumpy, but it's like smooth, it's soft. But it's not smooth like a snake is smooth. Snakes are soft and smooth. People used to think like, when I got a snake, they're like, ew, they're not slimy? And I was like, no, they're not slimy at all. They're extremely smooth and soft to the touch. Like, they feel really nice. I don't know. Birds feel nice, the feathers. And they're warm, cute little bodies. And they're like, birds are cute because they're like, they got like this roundness to them. When you touch them, it's very nice. Like their wings and stuff even. I don't know, it just feels nice to touch them. Cats and dogs, I love touching them. I don't know, I probably have a problem. I like touching all the animals. Bugs, I like touching bugs too. I like animals. Okay, that's a terrible. Yeah, that was a total distraction. Sorry. These videos, I should just get right into it. I'm sure people are tired of watching. I was thinking I'm going to start posting. Like, I'm gonna have to rewatch my videos and post a timestamp for when the reading actually starts, because I tend to talk too much. So I don't have any nails on right now, which I thought would make this a little easier. So we'll see how that goes. Your inner self is your inner guide. Your inner self is your inner guide. Your external self is your external guide. Coming into tune with your body. That's what I've been working on. I'm doing these somatic exercises every day, which are exactly for that purpose, just to get truly in touch with your body. It's a lot, to be honest. It really isn't. They're light cardio exercises. It's like a yoga, stretching exercises essentially, but getting in touch with my body has been hard. I really have always kind of been displaced from myself that way, and like there's definitely certain parts of my body, like my entire midsection, that I just completely ignore most of the time, and I've been really trying to work on just embracing myself and loving myself and giving myself the most and the best so that I can be at my best. I have a great body if I would just take care of it the right way, and I'm like starting to, I'm getting there for sure. Which is a great place to be. This reminds me that I'm still in this negative mentality though. Like I'm not there yet. And like when I think about my stomach, or I think about like my butt, or like my legs, like there's certain things I like. There's certain parts of even those things that I've learned to love, but like as a whole, like, and embracing those things on my body and as part of like my whole has been difficult. And it is because I tend to focus on the negatives, for sure. I used to have really, really bad body dysmorphia, to the point that I would like, I had no idea what I looked like half the time, to be honest. And I just really hated myself all the time. And I love myself now, but there's still parts of me that I struggle to love. And I don't hate them. But yeah, in my heart sometimes I do still have that feeling of like, I just wish that this was different. I wish that this was better. But like, I know that I can have the exact body that I've always wanted. It just takes work. And the hard thing of that for me is that focusing on those things that I've always hated so much, and that I don't want to think about, and that I don't want to accept, like this isn't the thing that I want. So I'm doing the work so that I can get rid of it, right? So that it can be different. But like that takes embracing those things as they are too, so that you can know what you're working with. And that is hard. I had to watch myself in the mirror today while I was doing certain exercises, because every time I did them, I felt so embarrassed. I felt so awkward. I felt like I could feel that it wasn't right in my body, and I was like, what is wrong with this? And then I watched myself in the mirror, and sometimes it was like, okay, that's fine. And then other times I was like, oh, this is what I really should be worried about. And like being able to truly embrace yourself, and being able to like sit in confidence with what it is that you have to offer yourself and others is like, it's everything. The King of Cups knows what cups he has, right? And he is in charge of them, and he embraces them and releases them as he chooses. And like, until I am fully there, embracing those parts of myself, like, I'm there to some degree sometimes, right? Where like, somebody else will say something bad about my body, and I'll be like, okay, well, I'm good. Like, I'm good with myself. Like, but sometimes people say things, and it does make me feel some type of way. Or sometimes people don't even have to say things, and I'm feeling a way. And that's because I'm not in my King of Cups energy. If I were in my King of Cups energy, I would be able to embrace all of those things fully and then to pour from them fully. Where it's like, okay, so my stomach might not look like what I want it to look right now. My butt might not look like what I want it to look like right now. But like, one, I'm so far from where I've been. Like, there's so much to be proud of myself for. And there's so much value to what I have right now. Like, I can use what I have at my fingertips at any given time, and it's good enough. It's sufficient. Okay. It's sufficient. I can use everything that I have. I'm not going to take the entire deck if the entire deck is being thrown at me, but I can use what I have at my fingertips. Sorry, we're going to make this a more concise reading. Thank you. And I can work with those things, and I can work on those things, and I'm not going to be able to actually make those things better if I'm constantly turning away from them. I have to be willing to look at those things for what they really are. Be like, okay, this is what it is, you know. And then, like, so often I'll see, you know, women's bodies on the internet that like remind me of, like, even trans women's bodies that, like, sometimes I'm extremely jealous of trans women's bodies, but I often, like, consider, too, like, how many of them, like, are insecure about their own bodies and wish that they had things that I had. And, like, that's just what it's like, especially being a woman in this society, because, you know, we're constantly objectified, and our value is determined by how well we can be objectified, you know, and it just gets really complex. There's so many women that have, like, qualities that I'm so glad that I don't have, and I watch them embrace them with confidence that I don't have, and it's like, it's triggering, but in such a good way, because it reminds me, one, put away the ego and put away the pride, like, and also embrace what it is that you do have. See that you can be very happy with what it is that you have, because at least it's not something else. And it's not even with the comparison. Just be happy with what you have. Just be happy with what you have, because those women are happy with what they have. Or they're at least working it out. That's the best that you can do, really, is just work those things out, right? Okay, so this is coming the same sort of way. I thought that you could mostly see everything, but I guess not. That's fine. I'll show you as it comes. I've yet to have, like, any of these readings follow a particular spread, which is great. It's like part of my read. I'm learning so much about, like, just who and how I am by doing these sorts of things. Quite interesting. Okay. The first thing I noticed is that the King of Cups came out again. But all of these cards in the face up, that are facing up, I'm taking as clarifiers for these being the main cards, the ones that came face down. And so the cards that I have are Death in the reverse, the Knight of Swords in the upright. Oh, it's the Page of Swords, sorry. I knew that. And the Two of Cups in the upright. Okay. Okay. Underneath Death in the reverse. This is all very positive. Also, I have these two cards on the side, which are kind of like it sounds like a child making animal sounds. I guess it's on the other side of her fence. I don't know. These are going to define the energy of the left and the right. And the middle is the in-between for them. So I'm going to start with the middle. I have the Page of Swords in the upright, which is ambition, hope, a sense of destiny, freedom, curiosity, self-assurance, the inner child, pure intuition without a discernment attached to it. A bit of immaturity, lack of experience mixed with a lack of education, not in the negative, just in a factual way. And the kind of the foundation of peace in that way. A driving force for peace. The King of Cups. And this read is like assurance. I don't have to worry. Calmness. Balance. Stoicness. A good inner strength, a good knowledge of oneself, assured of oneself, but with validation, with skills and experience to validate that assurance of self. And the High Priestess in the upright, which is also an assurance of self, trusting one's intuition, knowing one's spiritual path, embracing the balance between one's light and shadow aspects, between one's masculinity and femininity, between what is and what isn't. Wisdom, grace, mystery. There's a lot of occult aspects to the High Priestess. Clarity of mind. Balance. They all represent a sense of balance for sure. So on the left, we have Death in reverse, the Hierophant in reverse, which is a card I haven't seen in this deck yet, and the Seven of Wands in reverse. And it's all what would be the word? It's all in the energy of the Ace of Pentacles. Okay. So, Death in the reverse. Death in the reverse is life. It's comfort, a sense of knowing, a sense of assurance. There's a lot of assurance going on here. Now, I suppose that would be with this having started with your inner voice as your inner guide, And like, what do you trust externally to be your external guide? Like, you really do, it's just about knowing yourself. There has to be an assurance of self. Whatever healing work needs to be done in order for you to come to an assurance of self, that is what needs to be done. Because that's everything. And it's not for anybody else to tell you what it's going to take for you to become assured of yourself. I actually just said that the other day, where I was like, there's no amount of books that you can read about self-actualization that's going to actually help you self-actualize until you are willing to do the work that you require in order to know yourself fully. You cannot be assured of yourself if you're still relying on what somebody else has written in a book, or what somebody else has experienced in their lives, or the validation or support somebody else can give you. I'm going to look at this Hierophant, because I haven't seen this card yet. So in this card, it's the High Priest, essentially, right? It's not the High Priestess. This is higher than that. It does have a very, like, where the High Priestess has this, like, emotional, occult aspect. The High Priest is like, you know exactly what you're coming for, what you're getting when you come to him. He's the High Priest, so he looks very devout. He looks like there's very devout, very religious, very ritualistic, very like there's very specific standards set for the Hierophant. And in front of him are two monks. They have their younger men that have longer hair, but then they have the back of their heads shaved. And they're wearing their robes. And then there's two keys at his feet. He is also between two pillars, like the High Priestesses. Only hers are on the forefront, and hers are something that are like directing the balance of what she's working with. She's working within that dichotomy and that dualistic system. Whereas the Hierophant is very like self-assured. Like those things are in the background. His power comes in the work he's already done, in the balance of his education and his experience to be in the role that he's in. Whereas also, like, the High Priestess, like her cross, her crown, the banner behind her of pomegranates, or the moon at her feet are all representative of tools that she uses in order to maintain a balance. He has more of a sense of power where, like, the tools that he has are tools for others to recognize his power, but he doesn't have to use them to exert his power. His power is already innate. And like the monks, like they're doing their own work, and it's not even to try to take his place or to be where he's at, or both him and the High Priestess have the job of being the discerning ones and offering wisdom to people. Sorry for all the background sounds. They're definitely annoying the fuck out of me right this second. I can't stand a consistent, like... But that's the difference as well, right? He's assured of himself. Everything in the background is muted. He doesn't use it one way or the other as a source for his energy pulling that comes all from his experience and education and faith. And the monks are doing what they do in their own faith. And the keys are, one, the balance between the inner and the outer. the balance between the education and the experience, the balance between the faith and the thing that, the object of his faith, the balance between his role and position of power as compared to the monk's role and position of submission, the balance between you can even see the inner, he has this hand raised, and then he has his scepter in this hand. It's the balance between the inner knowing and the external, the inner guide and the external guide. In the reverse, that's really distracting to me. In the reverse, it reflects like a pride, an arrogance, a bit of even like sacrilege. Like the Pharisees, when Jesus would talk to the Pharisees and he's like, y'all are just a bunch of vipers. Like, in the reverse, it's like he's looking down at these monks. Like, you're lesser than for being in a submissive role where I'm in a dominant role. When really, the monks are just acting out on their own faith, are in that position because that is what they have been called to. It's not a lesser position just because it's in a lesser position, but that doesn't mean that it's lower vibrational, right? Like, a good monk is far better than a bad pastor in that sense. And the Seven of Wands in reverse is like not having to fight, not having to defend yourself. Again, an assurance of self, not having to defend yourself. Ultimately, not having to defend yourself. All of them are in the spirit of the Ace of Pentacles, reflective of the Ace of Pentacles. The Ace of Pentacles being the true abundance, the divine abundance, a divine abundance and wealth and assurance and security. And the Hierophant in reverse can recognize that their role isn't to be higher than anyone else, but more responsible or responsible for higher things, or I guess responsible for higher things. Like, it's just a different position. It's just a different work being done, but they're all equal. And I think that that's what death in reverse is reflective of as well, because death in the upright is almost like a form of judgment and a form of like final consequence for like very specific things, but like at no point in time is everything dying or is everything coming to life. Like, there's a time and space for all things, and in a release of certain egos, like the desire to defend oneself, the desire to be in control, the desire to save oneself, that's not where the Ace of Pentacles truly is. The Ace of Pentacles comes through not like a rejection of those things, but an alchemization of those things. So then on this side we have the Ace of Cups. Divine love, divine security, divine abundance in the form of energy. This is material, this is energetic. So this is external, this is internal. We have the Two of Cups in the upright, the Page of Pentacles in the upright, and the Knight of Wands in the reverse. The Knight of Wands in the reverse. Forward movement with a sense of clarity and direction. In the reverse would be uncertainty. Not being able to see. Not embracing one's own power. In light of the Ace of Cups, I would say that, that tends to be of feelings that get triggered when you're attempting to embrace the Ace of Cups, because the Ace of Cups is the sense that the Holy Spirit, is causing you an overflow, and that you're able to then put out into the world and give an abundance of yourself from within your cup. But there is that trepidation that kind of gets triggered just subconsciously, I think, in general, to most people, that if I give too much of myself, if I give of myself, I'm going to be left with nothing. Not realizing that it's out of the capacity to give of abundance, that abundance truly flows. So there's a balance there. The Page of Pentacles is the first step in appreciation, a reward. It's like, find a penny, pick it up, the rest of the day you'll have good luck. Find a penny, save a penny. And then if you in like the sense of investment, personal investment that way, that like if you embrace having only that little, you'll be much better off to embrace when you have so much more. If you can't embrace having just so little, you won't be able to embrace having more. You'll always be wanting more. And it just will never be enough. It doesn't matter if you have 1,000,000 pennies. It doesn't matter if you have 1,000,000 actual dollars. It doesn't matter, if you have everything you could ever ask for. If you don't have the energy of the Page of Pentacles, you won't be able to be grateful for anything that you're given. Two of Cups is union, often romantic. But in this spread, I don't see anything terribly romantic. So it's more of a reflection of the union of the true love and abundance that abides within us energetically, and coming into union with oneself. Honestly, this read is like hard for me. I don't know why, but it's just not resonating with me, and I'm feeling frustrated with all of the sounds that are happening around me. I'm also feeling like in my body, like I'm just anxious and I want to like go do something else. I'm feeling a lot of ways, and this isn't really resonating with me, and it feels like complicated. Which is making me feel, which like on the surface feels like, oh, then it must not be right. But like, I've already done this entire spread. Like, I'm so close to the end. It just feels like I'm supposed to do this. So hopefully this is resonating for somebody. I'm sorry that like my energy is off with it. I'm not trying to put my negative, frustrated energy into this. And I'm sure I'll learn something from it later on. But yeah, this is definitely not a reading for me. I don't know why. It's just resonating weird. Okay, so I have Death in the reverse, which is moving to the Two of Cups. And like I said, like death is like the sense of division almost. There's life and there's death and there's fear that comes with death, and there's the light and the darkness. There's all these different things that death like brings upon us, and it all tends to be pretty like it reflects the duality of existence, right? But the union of self, of the inner external, right, is like, you, if you see it as death, you're going to miss it, because it's not. It is a transition, but it really truly isn't even a transition. That's why death is in the reverse. There is no separation between your inner self and your external self. They're the same. And I know that to be true. For when I hate on certain parts of my body, it's more reflective of there being certain aspects of myself that I have yet to fully embrace, or that I'm hating on, right? This part of my body reflects to me a fear of intimacy, a lack mentality when it comes to feeling like valid, physically, like desirable. A lot of really deeply seated issues with the divine feminine, with like mother wounds, a sign of a lack of discipline. You know, and those things are all very triggering. That's what it actually is. It has nothing to do with the physical body. I see plenty of women that have this going on, and it's beautiful the way that they carry themselves when they're not carrying themselves in the negative that I tend to carry myself with, right? So it's really just reflective of my inner world. And like even that, like when I'm not actively taking care of my inner world in those ways, or when I'm not doing those things, like learning how to love myself and care for myself has helped me to be able to step into like a healthier body. And like all of this, like there is no separation between them. That's what the Page of Swords is for, is to like, without having to consider one thing or the other, like what's right, what's wrong. It's not a matter of like experience, of maturity, of like a true set knowledge. It's just being able to cut away all the bullshit and cut away all the fat of being able to be like, no, this is me, this is who I am, this is all me, this is all who I am, and I can embrace this and I can move through this. You know, I think something that's resonating with me with this reading is that, you know, and I do keep it deep down, but like an insecurity of what others will think of me doing this type of work, and a fear of judgment with that. You know, and this is my abundance. This is what my abundance looks like, both in the internal and the external. This is part of it, at least, you know, and I have to be able to embrace all parts of myself, even the parts that I don't want to resonate with, even the parts that I don't like looking at. That's what this whole reading is about, right? So then I have the Hierophant in reverse. You know, the willingness to be humble in order to receive a divine abundance. Moving through the King of Cups into the Page of Pentacles. Humility moving through an assurance of self into opportunity for abundance. But it's wild. This part in particular, and I suppose in part too, because the way I have it set is that these two cards are on the opposite sides of this row. But it moves from the Ace of Pentacles through the Hierophant, which is, you know, energetic, spiritual, mental, into the King of Cups, which is emotional, to the Page of Pentacles, which is external, material. And that's reflected by the Ace of Cups, which is like the ultimate emotional balance. So there's this yin-yang there that's happening. You can't have one without the other. You're not going to have one. You can't just like pull the light out of the darkness and then say, okay, now I have just the darkness, or pull the darkness out of the light and say, okay, now I have just the light. they literally require the balance between them in order to move seamlessly through, because you're always going to be using one or the other in order to find that balance. And so to not have to be defensive, to move through what is known, and to be able to trust our capacity to balance out that dichotomy, to be able to have the wisdom, the self-assurance, the experience, the intuition, to be able to know how to move into the Knight of Wands in reverse. Right now, that just resonated with me as like abstinence, chasteness, chastity is what it's called, I guess. Purity, that way. Because the Knight of Wands is almost like this like sexual passion. But in the reverse, it's like self-discipline. And all of this, like, obviously just keeps, like I started this whole thing off talking about how unflattering I feel like this position is. And just keep talking about this part of my body. And all of this for me is reflective of, like, being willing and able to embrace all that I am is the step that I need to take in order to be able to, like, really get in there and really work out the truest self that lies underneath these walls that I've built up and underneath these surfaces that I tend to identify myself by. That's where both my external and my internal abundance truly lie. Is being willing to, like the King of Cups, for it being the second time it came out while I was just doing this, and it's right in the center of our read. You know, and that is like a balance. Okay, I gotta pee. So I think I'm done with this. I'm gonna have to reflect on it more. I know what I'm saying. I hope that this was helpful. It's obviously, quite obviously, you can tell in my emotions that it's something that I still need to process and that I'm being a bit defensive about, but I'm working it out, and that's why I'm setting in these rituals and routines that I've been doing, like my somatic workouts every day, and eating healthier, and being more active. I didn't hang out with my friend yesterday. I'm going to today. That's the plan, at least. I think getting out of the house more is also going to be very helpful, just to balancing these things out. So, alright, that's all I got. Hope you enjoyed it. See you soon.